After that, Talion spent about another hour fighting his way through all of the demons that Salus was creating with his fog. The day was far from over just yet, but suddenly, with no warning, all of the demonic beings that Salus had created began to dissipate, the fog turning back into its state of fog and drifting back to him rapidly as he absorbed them back. Hey, what's going on? Talion shouted. Did I do something wrong? No, kid, you didn't do anything wrong. But I think that's enough of that particular method for today. There's been something that's been, well, bugging me. Bugging you? Talion said. Yeah, it's been picking away at me over the course of your training. Over the course of the days that we've been doing this, you've absorbed a fair amount of my demonic energy in the form of those energy demons made from fog. And yet, you are stacking that power back, that much I know. But it doesn't seem to be affecting you in any way. You've most likely got a generous supply of it at this point. And yet, neither your power level, nor your strength, speed, or anything else seems to be being affected. Is there something wrong with that? Talion said. No, it's just normally I might expect some sort of change, but you don't seem to have changed at all. All of your increases in ability seem to be quite natural for you. They don't seem to be derived from whether or not you're gobbling down any of my fog. That ability of yours to absorb the demonic powers of others, it's a powerful ability, unlike anything that most anyone else is going to have to deal with. And that isn't even your only advantage. This new style of seals magic that you're working on, that's definitely a new trick too, that's going to pull a lot of people by surprise. Make you exceptionally hard to read, so long as you know how to use it properly. But for now, let's focus on your ability to absorb demonic magic, energy, and such. Quite frankly, the thing that concerns me about that ability the most is that we don't know its limitations. Its limitations? Yeah, Silas replied. Quite frankly, you seem fine with absorbing even large amounts of your opponent's demonic abilities, even solid objects, but those just get spit back out as lava, or burnt to nothing if there's something less stable, like wood. But the primary thing we need to focus on is the energy. We need to know the hard limitations of that ability, or whether there are any at all, and how it affects you in terms of your own energy, and what happens if you pass that limit, and that is, if there is one. Quite frankly, it's just too much to question, and way too much to leave to chance. There's a good possibility we're going to come in confrontation with very powerful demons, and the attacks that they're going to throw at you are not going to be, well, lightweight. They're going to be throwing heavy attacks at you. Exceptional amounts of power and demonic energy. We need to know how absorbing them is going to affect you, or if you can at all. So, I've devised a test that you're going to take. It's going to use up a sizable chunk of your demonic energy to do it, but it should give us a good bearing on whether the limitations on your ability are something that we have to put that much concern on. Okay, so what's the test? Talion asked, cocking his head to the side a bit and scratching at it. I mean, how are we supposed to test something like that? At that point, Silas began to smile. Well, kid, we're gonna feed you. We're gonna feed you a lot. All at once. and see how you take it," Silas said as he raised his hand towards the sky. And as he did, a massive, billowing cloud of white fog started to billow from him with a great amount of force, kicking up a stirring wind that pulsed out in every direction. Everyone in the clearing actually had to brace themselves as the wind was so strong, all of their clothes whipping in a powerful breeze, and all the while, massive billowing clouds of white fog filtering into the air, beginning to coalesce, whirl in the sky above, forming a sphere, an absolutely massive sphere. It must have been a few 100 feet across before it stopped growing, and the white fog stopped flowing from Salus. "Okay, that should about do it," he said, staring up at the massive orb in the sky that seemed to blot out everything. "You can't be serious," Taleon said. "I mean, look at the size of that thing. How did that even come out of you?" "Don't worry about it, kid. You see, what you have right there should amount to about the full-scale amount of demonic energy that you start out with during the day." "What?" Taleon shouted. "No way!" "Yes way, kid. Given physical form, the amount of demonic energy that you produce, that you start out with at the beginning of the day, is about equal to the size of that." "You're kidding me," Taleon said, looking at the massive sphere in astonishment. "I make that much demonic energy?" "Yeah, believe it, kid," Salus replied. "So, this is how the test is going to work. The most likely bounds that I can see your powers having a problem with is the bound of the limit of your own demonic ability. Basically, if my guess is accurate as to the most possible limitation, it would be the amount of energy that you're capable of storing in your body, that you naturally produce yourself. If my theory is correct, then once the amount of energy that you've absorbed reaches that level, you'll no longer be able to absorb any more demonic energy from anyone else. But here's the killer question. Does that stop your own demonic energy from returning? And what happens if you try to absorb more than that? Will it just fail altogether? Will you be able to store it away, but there'll be some sort of negative fallout or consequence? If you store away the maximum amount that equates to your own demonic energy, what happens as your own demonic energy returns? Does it put a limitation on it? Will you not be able to regain your own until you've used up what you've gathered? These are all important questions that we need to answer before you're faced to use your ability in real life or death combat. So, I want you to do whatever you need to, but give it everything you have and try to absorb all of that, if at all possible, in one go. This will be the deciding test. If you're able to absorb this, then the chances are, unless you come in contact with a maximum level demon, I'm talking someone on the scale of your father, then any demonic attack that they might throw at you won't really matter. You can just gobble it up with no problem. But if it's unsuccessful, if you can't absorb this amount of energy, then you have to be wary. It means that there's a hard limitation on the amount of energy that you can take in, meaning attacks on a high enough level can't be absorbed. That means you have to dodge them or block them like everyone else. And in the heat of battle, you're not going to get second chances. If someone throws an attack at you at this scale, there isn't going to be a second chance. If you fail to absorb it, then chances are the attack will kill you or damage you exceptionally heavily. So, we need to know right here and now what the level is of that ability, how much you can tolerate absorbing. If you succeed, that means that in a single shot you can absorb an attack that equates to your entire demonic energy level, meaning there's basically no attack that will be able to hit you, which I gotta say, in terms of powers, is freaking terrifying. If that ends up being the case, you're definitely gonna be more trouble than most could stand to barter with.